This is Koda Radio, episode 149 for April 13th, 2015. Everyone, and welcome to Koda Radio, Jupiter Broadcasting's weekly talk show, taking a pragmatic look at the art and business of software development and related technologies. This episode is brought to you by our two fine sponsors, DigitalOcean and Linux Academy. I'll tell you more about those great sponsors as this here show goes on. My name is Chris, and joining us every single week is our excellent host, most certainly established on the East Coast. Why, it's Mr. Michael Dominic. Hey there, Michael.
Misa here for the long haul.
Oh, I think you know, sometimes you think you want something, and then once you have it, you realize you didn't really want it that much. You liked the idea of it more than you actually liked having it. That's sort of how I feel about Jar Jar.
Oh,
I'm
dude.
sorry, buddy. I'm sorry. I know. I don't mean to be
inappropriate.
I don't mean to be inappropriate at the top of the show. You know what? I know it'll make you feel better. It's been a big week. I know you're super, super excited, buddy. We shouldn't go any further. We should start right here at the top of the show.
I'm running for president.
That's right. Hillary Clinton, buddy.
Americans have fought their way back from tough
economic
buddy.
Times, Hillary's running, buddy.
The deck is still stacked in favor of those at the top.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everyday Americans need a champion, and I want to be that champion.
Are you really excited? Are you excited, buddy?
So now that I'm poor, I'm pretty much a Hill Dog supporter again.
Yeah. Okay.
It fluctuates by, will I pay taxes or not pay taxes? In a couple months, maybe not, but you know.
You see, I try to get you all riled up at the beginning of the show, and you coming in, you're all like,
I love Hill Dog.
Yeah.
I love Hill Dog.
I
don't
like
the
Mary. Dog, huh?
Listen.
Yeah.
I'm down with the DGG.
All right. Okay. All right. Well, you know, she's internet savvy. You know that. She likes apps. So maybe you could.
But she hates email accounts.
Well, she just wants it to be real easy. That's all.
Right. You know what? She could be like an Apple designer. She wants one button to delete all her.
I'm sorry. What? You know, she probably had it on ButterFS, and let me tell you, that is a risky proposition.
In her defense, I think it was Exchange, actually.
So, no, I believe it was actually a Linux box. Or at least the front door was. Who knows what the inside was? Actually, it might have been maybe just the front door, because at least on the IP scans. Of course,
maybe it was BSD.
Yeah, maybe. Mr. Dominic, we are gathered today on a special edition of Koda Radio, episode 149 of the Koda Radio program. We said we'd do something this week. We asked the audience to go to the Koda Radio subreddit over at kodaradio.reddit.com, and we have asked for your votes. And we said the top voted stories will be our topics for this week's episode of the Koda Radio program. And so we will go through some of your top stories. But Mr. Dominic, before we go any further, have you pre-ordered your Apple Watch?
Remember what I said about voting for the Democrats because I'm poor?
What do you think of the reviews so far? You must have seen some of them, right?
Yeah. Okay, it's pretty. It doesn't do a lot.
So it sounds to me kind of like a bit of a flop.
I don't know if it's a flop. I just think it's until they get the native apps on it, right? The actual watch apps, it's going to be a little... So, a lot of the reviews, universally, the reviews said that the performance wasn't as good as they expected. There seems to be some inherent delay by casting apps from the phone to the watch over Bluetooth. Surprise, surprise. Bluetooth's only so fast. And the battery life does seem to be a bit of an issue. The notification system is not nearly as streamlined as Apple made it seem during the keynotes. It's essentially, it sounds like you just get everything like you do on Android. Just dump to your watch. So it doesn't free you from your phone necessarily until you go in there and manually pare all that down. I look at the MacBook with one USB port, and I look at the Apple Watch, and I start to think this is a company that's starting to make some missteps, some pretty big missteps. But whatever, we'll see. I just thought it was interesting. The reviews, I was surprised. I thought it would be nothing but praise. And they were pretty positive, I would say, but there wasn't essentially any review that didn't have at least some seriously negative things to talk about. Some people said they could see the separation between the screen and the glass and all those kinds of things. Some people said they couldn't. But we're not here to talk about that, are we? No watching.
Okay, we won't talk about watches. We'll talk about our meetup before we get too much further. Before we get into the main show, meetup.com/Jupiter Broadcasting Linux Fest Northwest at the end of April. Mr. Dominic's going to be there. I'm going to be there. In fact, pretty much the entire Jupiter Broadcasting crew is going to be there, with the exception of like a couple of people. And of course, those people know who you are. Rikai.
What is Rikai's problem?
Well, I see Rikai doesn't really leave the studio much, so I thought what I could do is bring him like on a tablet via Skype. That's legit, right? Is that legit?
I don't know if that's legit, dude.
Well, okay.
Rikai, I'm coming from across the country. Let's go.
I know, right? Well, you got to talk to him, okay? You talk to him when you get here. Meetup.com/Jupiter Broadcasting. Go there. When we travel around, or when our hosts are attending events in your area, or some of the meetups I want to do here in the Pacific Northwest, we'll coordinate them through the meetup page. So even if you're not
supposed to do that, because I'm going to a conference in May.
You can if you want to. If you want to hold it. So here's what I'm doing is I'm just saying to the host, like, if you want to coordinate a meetup when you go somewhere, you can use this page to do it. And so I think Noah and Alan have already taken me up on it, and you are welcome to as well. So there's a lot going on out there. Meetup.com/Jupiter Broadcasting. The first one we have on there is Linux Fest Northwest. I think that probably the next one here in the Pacific Northwest will be Linux Unplugged episode 100, which will also be coordinating through that page.
Let me tell you, May 18th, I'm going to a very exciting MS Build conference.
Where's that at?
New York. No, I'm not kidding. I actually am going.
Oh, to New York, huh?
Yes. Oh. So this is an opportunity for our downtrodden, beaten down .NET developers to come out and show all three of their support.
Yeah, that's all three of them.
It's going to be a tough sell.
Oh, wow. That's harsh. That's harsh, man. That's super harsh. Well, we right now have 124 people signed up for the meetup group, with 50 of them going to Linux Fest Northwest. But I bet you way more. Yeah.
And are they all running BSD?
Maybe. We'll find out when they get there. Maybe we can convert them. You never know. All right, so yeah, we said go to the Koda Radio subreddit, kodaradio.reddit.com, and submit some stories and then vote. And we got one that has a ton of votes, 18 upvotes, which is quite a bit when you consider it also sustained. Although Reddit doesn't really tell me anymore. Like, they don't give you like
the downvote haterade.
Yeah, but it got some haterade, but not much, but it got some. So I want to talk about that. So let's talk about this topic, which we'll see what you think about this. This is why I quit Apple, and what really goes on at Apple. He says, I just escaped the Apple institution. I've sent my resignation, and I filed down. I fled down its bright white corridors, curated by colorful pictures of iPhones past. I handed in my security pass, and in return, I was able to reclaim my creativity, my individuality, and my free thinking from the secure Apple cloakroom. Finally now, for the first time in 2 years, I feel light, creative, and inspired. I am again an individual, my own creative ideas, perceptions, values, and beliefs.
Well,
so
then,
he says he is free.
I just want to throw this out there. You know how they say don't burn a bridge when you leave a job?
Yeah.
I think that extends to like firebombing it too. I'm just saying, like, there's no going back after something like this.
He says, I found Apple to be a sheltered workshop, the common language spoken between aggression, sarcasm, and Kool-Aid-fueled stories of success designed to manipulate and intimidate naive workers who have never experienced corporate life outside the Apple walls. Like Chinese emperors believed for the forbidden city in Beijing was the center of the universe, and they believed that he was the center of the universe and constructed their empire around it. I'm sure at some point, people at Apple feel the same. It's pretty intense.
So, what are your feelings on this?
So, do you have any guesses what this guy did?
Customer service. I know it. I read the whole.
Oh, you already know? Oh, okay. Damn it! I was gonna, because the way he builds it up, you'd think he's a developer. You'd think he's writing code, right?
So let me help out some of our younger folks in the chat.
Break it down, Mr. Dominic.
There's a reason customer service jobs are always plentiful, and the reason is they suck, right? Think about this. Even at a little shop, let's say one that used to be in Eatontown, the whole purpose of having a customer service, even department of like 2 people, is to prevent the people actually doing the work from having to take phone calls and therefore not working. So your entire job function is actually just a barrier, right? You're meant to take abuse, take notes, send them to people. You're not doing anything. I mean, of course, the work is hard. You know, I'm not saying that you're lazy. I'm not saying anything like that. But I'm saying it's not a particularly creative job because, okay, let's take it to Apple, right? Someone calls in about their iPhone 5C is broken or whatever. Well, it's not your job to redesign the phone to fix it. It's your job to, I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry, ma'am. You know, here's the nearest Apple store, whatever, and just get that customer to be happy, i.e., service that customer.
Right.
So, I mean, that's anywhere, any business. If they have a customer service department, their role is to keep the people doing the work free to do the damn work. Like think about this. If you're me and Chris have talked about this extensively. You're a one-man development shop, and your clients are calling you all day long, bitching at you. Well, guess what? Their complaints are gonna get worse and worse and worse and worse as they keep you on the phone longer because you will not have gotten the work done.
Yeah.
So obviously, I mean, this seems so stupid and so like.
So why do we live? Why do we live in a universe where this is okay and this gets attention? What is it? Is it that we are all a bunch of narcissists, that we think we're so important that we should go to our special blogs with our beautiful theme, with our name and our picture on there, and go write our story for the world because we have been wronged, and so therefore the world must know?
One, you know, maybe they were bad to him, whatever. I'm not saying he's right in Apple or that he's wrong in Apple. Right. I'm saying that criticizing your previous employer publicly is insane.
Well, you know what else? It's a chicken shit move, because what can they do in response? All you can do is be out there making your big stink about some sort of egregious thing that happened to you, and of course it's all your version of the story. And what's Apple going to do? They're not going to do shit about it, because first of all, you're small time, you're small potatoes, you're not even worth their attention, and second of all, responding to you only brings them down to your level, and third of all, it's going to give you more ammunition for the troll. And so the only thing you can do is sit up here on your high horse and take shots at Apple with your chicken shit position, because you know they're never going to say anything, so you're such a badass on your stupid little blog. And then of course it doesn't matter if it's Apple, doesn't matter if it's some wood carving company, it's completely inappropriate.
Well, this is like one step up from leaving a drive-by review on Google Plus or Facebook about your previous employer, right? And I've had that happen. You know what? No one ever did well getting a new job by saying, oh, and the reason I don't work there is because they're a bunch of assholes. Even if that's true, right? Let's say he walked into work every day and they just slapped him in the face. Like straight up, he walked in and he got slapped every day.
I like the Joker's response in our subreddit. He said, I think the majority of the issues described here are due to a culture clash between the Australian and South Asians. He didn't like them. And they didn't like him. He had quotes like dry runs.
There was like a hint. Well, dry run is just like running through something.
Well, he says he didn't like them, and they said, I don't like them, quote, dry runs. To me, sounds like something you'd pick up from Southeast Asian street food. I don't know what he means by that, but
I mean, there's a weird hint of like elitism or dare we say like cultural whatever
judgment.
But either way, I can't help but like never want to ever work with this guy in any capacity ever, right?
Yeah, I would never want, like, after I read this guy's post, I would never want him to work for me.
Or even, like, in any capacity, like as a client, as anything, because you know his opening move is, I'm unhappy with something, we have a minor disagreement, let me go write a freaking 500-word blog post about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what I love is he quotes Steve Jobs, which is just, like, the total arrogance icing. As Steve Jobs said, don't be trapped by dogma, which is living the results of other people's thinking.
You work in a call center, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. He says, thanks, Steve. I choose to follow your advice. I mean, he is right, and good for him. I'm glad he's doing what makes him happy. Like, don't get me wrong.
Yeah. You know, we should move on, because this has nothing to do with anything. I know it got a lot of traction in the subreddit.
It was the number one. Yeah, I got the most action in our subreddit this week. And I think it does happen where you work for somebody, and you know what it is? Dude,
do you like that the flag is the Chinese flag, by the way?
Yeah.
Did you notice what he did with the app? Yeah.
Yeah, the whole thing's nice. And the comparisons to China and Apple's interest in China right now, I mean, that's a nice touch. But I will say this. I think what it is a symptom of absolute and total burnout. This guy's too young maybe or something. He doesn't realize it, but he let himself get pushed way too far to where he made them the bad guy. He made them the villain and him the hero, right? And he had to get it to that point, and he should not have let himself get it to that point.
You know what it is? And I know lots of people like this. They work at these tech companies in like a sales or customer service capacity, and they believe the bullshit, right? The unfortunate side effect is, like, let's say you work at Apple, Microsoft, Google. If you're not in dev or systems engineering or anything like that, I know from experience, I know from friends, I know from all this kind of stuff that it is kind of like a two-tiered system, right? Like,
yeah,
support doesn't get the same treatment as production, to use a. But let's move on, because honestly, it's interesting, but it's not really relevant. And
I agree. I mean, but we still would give it attention. And I actually, though, I don't know. You know, we do have enough people going to school listening. Hopefully they'll hear this and think, okay, well, I'll never do that.
Well, never bad. I mean, because here's the thing. If anybody does a background check on you, that's on your, you can't hide.
Right. What do you get when you Google that guy's name now? And because it's got some attention, it's going to get linked to quite a bit, too.
And they can always cold call your previous employer, regardless of what you think of that guy.
Yeah.
And, giving him a hard time on the internet is not going to help you.
Maybe if and if you're calling to do like a reference check on this guy to Apple, maybe that guy at Apple's just waiting for that call, being like, I've been waiting for this phone call.
Just so offended by what you did.
Yeah. He's like, you know what? If anybody ever calls to check on that guy, make sure I get that call.
Right.
I'll be sure to pass it along.
All right, let's move on.
All right, Mr. Dominic. We actually have, this would be a good spot to take a break. We have it's a good shift because this next one I think we'll dig into quite a bit. So I want to talk about DigitalOcean, which is a great supplement to the show. If you're out there and you need to go get yourself a cloud server for pretty much any purpose, for your own back-end infrastructure, for an app you want to do, for development testing, for production, for offsite scaling, really anything, DigitalOcean gets you covered. Why? DigitalOcean is a simple cloud hosting provider dedicated to offering the most intuitive and easy way for you to spin up your own cloud server. And if you use our promo code CODERDIGITAL, you get a $10 credit. You can try DigitalOcean out for 2 months for absolutely free. No credit card required. And get this. It's not going to take a ton of your time either. So not only are you going to get a $10 credit, but you can get started in less than 55 seconds. And pricing plans, they start at only $5 a month. That'll get you 512 megabytes of RAM, a 20 gigabyte SSD, 1 CPU, and a terabyte of transfer. A terabyte. And they have data centers in New York, San Francisco, Singapore, Amsterdam, and London. And they got another one coming on right now, I think. And, this is the beauty thing. So you go over there, you use the promo code CODERDIGITAL. You're going to try out that $5 rig 2 months for free. You're going to get a very fast machine, and they've got a lot of distributions of Linux you can choose from. Free BSD is also available. And then you get to manage it all with DigitalOcean's awesome control panel. It is so simple and very, very intuitive. And power users can replicate it on a larger scale with DigitalOcean's straightforward API. It's built so beautiful, and it works on your tablet or it works on your desktop. And the great thing is the community's really, really embraced DigitalOcean's API. They just released their new one, the new version 2.0. And there's a lot of great apps out there already built, but you can just take advantage of it too with some basic scripts. Hey, maybe you want to write something in Python. They have stuff for that. It's actually, you should check out the community section because they just have like libraries you can download for like just to snap it into something you're building. It's really cool. And of course, they have all kinds of fantastic tutorials. Really like everything from getting started with Nginx to all kinds of different securing your boxes to deploying GitLab, and I believe there's even some on there from Mumble and Minecraft. The range is just fantastic because they've been paying the community to write them, and then they've hired editing staff to edit them, and so you get a droplet for $5 a month, and you're gonna get try it out for 2 months for free when you use the promo code CODERDIGITAL. Then you get the super great interface, and it takes you no time to get started, and then on top of all of that, the tutorials will really help you get the most out of it. Go set yourself up something. It is really cool. DigitalOcean.com. Use the promo code CODERDIGITAL. That supports the Coda Radio program, and we really do appreciate that. And, of course, I'll get you that $10 credit over at DigitalOcean. CODERDIGITAL, DigitalOcean.com. Thanks, DigitalOcean. All right, Mr. Dominic, I really liked this submission to our subreddit by Code Carnage, or Code Carnage, I suppose. And it's kind of long, but he says it's the 4 goals in any business. And this is based on our conversation in last week's episode. He says, hi, guys, long-time listener, blah, 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 keep up the great work, blah, blah, blah. While listening to Coda Radio, it occurred to me that the central issues of business are not being directly addressed. I reckon you have 4 interrelated and conflicting goals in business. You can easily excel at any one of these, but you will only be truly successful if you can do all 4 to some degree. Number 1, get the contract. You know what? I'm going to give it a ding. I'll give that a ding. Number 2, get as much money as possible for the least amount of effort. Number 3, leave the client happy at the end. And number 4, feel good about yourself. The question of hours-based versus fixed pricing contracts, for instance, touches on each goal. A fixed price might make it easier to get the contract. That's number one. But it may come at the cost of losing control over the yield of your work. Number two. Efforts to maintain your work yield, framing additional work as outside of the current contract, can risk leaving the client unhappy, which is number three, resulting in a forfeiting of future work, back to number one, and make you feel as if you are providing a bad service, which is number four. On the other hand, an hourly price may make it more difficult to get the contract and may result in the client feeling more anxious. Given these goals, the ideal business relationship is one where you can say whatever you want to get the contract, including lies. 2, do very little work but still charge a great deal of money. And 3, have the client thank you for lying and overcharging them. And 4, and still be able to sleep at night. That would make you a sociopath, to be sure. But we probably know people who are like this in some fashion. Obviously, the feel good about yourself goal controls what you do to achieve the other ones. So, is this all just an argument for people to be more sociopathic? In a way, it is. You have to be able to be comfortable with selling your capabilities, perhaps overselling to a certain extent. You have to be comfortable with limiting the amount of work you do for clients and with charging them for more than what you think is fair. But they probably don't. And you have to be comfortable with the client being unaware of the fact that you have done these things before. Anyway, that's the lens through which I see the business issues that are brought up on the show. Would be interested to hear if anyone can think of an additional fundamental goal that isn't covered by the 4 mentioned above. And again, keep up the good work, blah, 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 more paragraphs, etc. So, Mr. Dominic, do you think maybe everybody needs to be a touch of a sociopath in order to be successful in business?
I don't. It's funny because I've had like lots of clients, lots of different kind of things. And one thing that keeps repeating itself is like working with startups and they run out of money, right? What do you do? Like, I definitely get, in my mind, his 4 points assumes a perfect world where the client will pay you, right? Can pay you, and is somewhat reasonable about scope. Which seems to me to be a pretty...
That'd be my... When I was doing IT consulting, that would describe my client base. I really never had a big issue of getting paid, sometimes delayed pay.
Well, it's funny because I work with a lot of... Or I used to work with a lot of startups, and that... Startups have a bad habit of trying to hide financial problems.
Sure, yeah. It's definitely the clientele, for sure. I mean, my clients were more doctors and lawyers, right?
So then your risk is at a minimum.
Yeah.
I mean, do I think you should be, a sociopath? Obviously not, right? Would I, if I were to get involved with something with a startup again, be more mindful of what the risk is? Potentially.
I wanted to touch on a core thing of his, though, and it's something that I really wanted to convey to the audience. He says, you have to be able to be comfortable with selling your capabilities and perhaps overselling them to a certain extent. You have to be comfortable with limiting the amount of work you do for clients and charging them more than you think is fair. And he means you literally, fundamentally, as a person, have to be okay with that in order to be happy at your job. Like you have to be comfortable potentially charging more than what you think you might be worth. Right? Like, so I had a hard time charging what I thought I should charge for a long time. And then I finally did make that, when I was doing that work, I finally close that gap. And I felt a lot better about it. I did feel a lot better. And what I realized is maybe this is a justification, but in a way, because I was towards the end of my career of doing that, my I don't know if it was a career or my job, my run of doing that IT contracting, right. I was way faster than anybody else in the company. I was always the fastest at getting in there, fixing the problem, getting the work done, but also still engaging with the client and being very sociable. But I mean, I could go in and I get it done in a half hour, take somebody else 2 hours, right? Well, so if I'm charging the same rate, I am the one that gets screwed because I know how to do it better and faster. I get screwed. That's not fair. So it does maybe it is more logical to charge a bit more for my rate than somebody else's that takes longer. And then once I realized that hold on now. If I don't make this change, I'm the one getting screwed, and I'm not going to be happy with that. And I made that, and so then we started charging more for my rate, and it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, ultimately, I used to be much more freewheeling on this kind of stuff. I'd let people be 60, 90 days late, and I'd kind of just suck it up. But eventually, if you become more responsible, if you're not a solo act, right, payroll doesn't stop. And that's a huge problem. So I think I actually kind of disagree. I don't think it's, being a sociopath. I think you have to defend yourself. And I would go far enough to say that you should probably turn down more projects than you take. But I might just be bitter.
No, I totally agree. You got to say no.
I mean, I want one red herring or one big red flag to me is if somebody, wants a big contract, but they're really, really hardcore about trying to negotiate the rate, but they claim to have all this money, that's usually not a good thing, right?
Yeah, a red flag, you say?
Red flag, like that's a danger. It's funny too because I have a lot of empathy for my past clients because when you're a startup and you have an investor, he could change your day overnight. So maybe that's a risk of that segment.
I think it is. Yeah, I think that is it.
But on the other hand, you have to think about the value you're providing big companies on. Big companies like consultants because big companies, even if they're in fire at will states, don't fire people at will, right? They have HR procedures, they have insurances, they have all these kind of things. So the value that you're bringing is that they can fire you. Honestly, and it can be for no fault. It can be, you know what, we decided to cancel the project. That's the value you bring.
Well, I mean, geez. That's tough. Really, the value is you're more flexible, you're more dynamic, you bring in a skill set that the company doesn't have.
You're a cost that they can turn on and off when necessary.
Yes.
Rather than an employee.
That is a perk, but I don't know if that's the value is you bring a skill set that's outside the company. And then you can be temporary. I
kind of think it is because if you think about, or maybe specifically for what I do, because it doesn't make sense for generic large company A to hire a bunch of mobile developers, right? It might make sense for them to contract with a few though for 3 months, 6 months.
Yeah.
And maybe it's different if you're more a generalist. I don't know. I mean, this whole billing stuff is all stuff that I've been thinking about a lot because it seems to me that there is a lot of situations where you need to projects can get out of control, either costing the client too much money because they get excited and they want to add and add and add and add and add, then it never ships, or too much fighting about big design up front, right?
I wonder if this segment specifically, if they don't look at all this stuff as like, well, if this doesn't work, we'll just drop it like it's hot and just move to something else completely. Like, it's almost like they're so nascent. They're almost like immature. They're like almost like young children in a way.
Yeah, I think particularly for mobile, it's it's something that's not a core competency for most people. So they're trying it out. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't, right? So hiring a mobile team doesn't make sense almost for any company, in my opinion, unless they want that to be a core part of their business.
So we had another submission to the subreddit. It was a Stack Overflow developer survey. And just a few numbers we can run through. The audience seemed to think this was kind of interesting. Every year Stack Overflow does this. They had more answers than ever this year. 26,000 people from 157 countries participated in a 45-question survey. 6,800 identified as full stack developers, while 1,900 mobile, 1,200 as front, and 2 as framers, and 12,000 as something else. So here you go. Developer profiles from the respondents. So right now there's 7.2 billion people on Earth. 32 million of them visit Stack Overflow monthly. 32 million. Stack Overflow gets 32 million, Mr. Dominic. Can you believe that shenanigans?
It's awesome.
Luxembourg, Iceland, Sweden, Israel, Finland, and Singapore are the top 6 devs per capita. Bottom 6 are Somalia, Chad, North Korea, Congo, Mali, and South Sudan. Age ranges. Looks like the most common is 25 to 29 developers. Yep. It's the 60-year-old range is 0.5%. 51 to 61.9%. It really drops off. It really starts to drop off, honestly, after 30 to 34. Interesting. The strongest is the 25 to 29 range, 2024 being the secondary. Age by country, 31.6 is the average age of a developer in the United States of America. In the United Kingdom, 30.3 years of age, and in Canada, 30.3 as well.
So there's a whole bunch of interesting facts out of these numbers. One is what recruiters will get you to call yourself on your resume.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, farmer, not framer. Sorry, I got framer.
Yeah. I wonder if the drop off by age that you mentioned, around, what was it, 35, isn't because people get pushed into management.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I think there are more people.
Or is it generational? Is it like that's the age of people that are going into the industry right now that are current in the, like, is it like these people, the 30 to 34 and the 25 to 29, and these are in our age range here, and like this is just people that are our age that are getting into the workforce right now, or in the workforce now, or are established in the workforce really. So I don't know. I don't know if it's that or if it's like I wonder if these numbers will continue to move up. Like they might move up into the 60 range, but I bet you're right. By the time they get higher, more and more drop off. You
become manager, you become CTO, you end up doing that kind of thing.
At the time of this writing, the average developer is 28.9 years old if you average it all together. He or she was born in 1986 on average, just as IBM manufactured the first megabit chip.
Makes a lot of sense to me, actually.
Yeah.
Why?
Look at the males, dude. 92.1%. Females, 5.8%.
It's a bit of a sausage fest. What's interesting is number one language, Chris. Say it loud, say it proud.
Oh, I didn't see it. Where was it?
JavaScript, baby.
Oh, JavaScript, of course.
Crushing it.
Did you see the years of experience here? 32%, 2 to 5 years of experience. 24%, 11 plus years of experience.
To me, but that curve seems right to me, doesn't it? I mean, wouldn't you have more people with like 5 years experience than 10?
Probably. So women, if you just break down women, the average length of development time this is less than 2 years at 37%, 2 to 5 years, 30%, 6 to 10 years, 15%. More females responded from India than the U.S. Self-taught. Look how strong self-taught is in the category. Still the number one indication, 41.8%. Huh. Look at that. Look how much further master's degree is. Master's degree in computer science, 18%. Self-taught, 41%. Master's degree, 18%. On-the-job training, 36% of respondents.
Yeah. Someone who's more plugged into the kind of the hiring and job market can tell me, but I don't really think you get that much more money for having a master's.
48% of respondents never received a degree in computer science.
Yep.
33% of respondents never took a computer science university course. System administrators are most likely to be self-taught, 52%. That sounds right to me. Huh. Interesting.
No, I wonder if there's not a bias with it being Stack Overflow. I mean, I know it.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Is. Side projects and open source, 2 to 5 hours per week for 27% of respondents.
Yeah,
5 to 10 hours.
Bullshit.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, so this is the data point that's most dubious because now we're just asking people, right?
Yeah.
And I think everybody says they do open source on their resume.
70% of respondents reported that they spend 2 hours or more per week programming either as a hobby or working on open source software. 70%.
I could see like the hobby thing. I don't know. So my question, Chris, is what is this? Like I read this whole report, and all it told me was that those dirty, dirty web devs are taking over the world.
You still hung up on that JavaScript thing, huh?
I'm hiding in my little Objective-C.
Wow, look at that. Now let's look at over the years. So let's start in 2013.
Oh God.
SQL was ahead. SQL.
Yeah, SQL was like dominating.
SQL, SQL 59.6%. JavaScript is sitting at 56. So JavaScript in 2013 was biting at SQL's SQL, and then in 2014. JavaScript pulls ahead by 1%, and now in 2015, JavaScript has a solid 54% lead, and SQL's at 48%. Java itself 37.4%, C# 31%, PHP 29%, Python 23%. C++
Okay,
20%.
so here's my question. They have JavaScript, Node.js, and AngularJS as different languages. That doesn't seem correct.
and Node.js and AngularJS 13.3%, and then Angular 13.3%.
Right. Should we add those, or is those part of JavaScript? Because if you add them, that's ridiculously tilted towards JavaScript. But I don't think that's how they're doing this. C# is not. If Java's beating C#, and Python, where's Ruby? Oh my God, where's Ruby?
It's 8%. 8%.
Oh, my favorites are right at the bottom, 8 and 7%.
Wow, Objective-C. Regardless of the iOS platform.
You know what? Yeah, C's, but yeah.
Wow, 21,000 respondents to this particular question. Actually, almost 22,000.
So it looks like if you're wanting to break in, the place to be is JavaScript, actually.
Yeah, or if you want to do a server-side, like say that Java is still the number one server-side language and the most frequently used tag on Stack Overflow.
Most loved. Get out of here.
Most loved is Swift at 77.6%.
Well, they didn't call me, that's for sure.
Wow, look at Rust doing pretty damn good for something we don't talk very much about. Rust at 73.8%. Go 72.5%. Wow.
Right. Theory. These are the languages that people say they like.
Yeah.
Because it makes them look,
All right, you ready to see the most dreaded? Let's
do it. Let's do it.
Salesforce. What?
Yes.
Visual Basic and WordPress.
I agree. Run, that's like the trifecta from hell.
These are not languages. Languages or tech, but not have expressed interest and continue to do so. Wow, look at LAMP. LAMP is most redded, 62.2%. Wow.
Cordova's in the shithole right where it belongs.
CoffeeScript, 54.7%.
Good. What's most wanted? That should be.
Let's find out. Most wanted. Android. Wow. Android.
Yeah.
17.7. JavaScript, 15.4. And then Python.
God damn it, you serpent bastards.
Look at Ruby's not even on that most wanted list.
Hey, Zach. Hey, Chris. Always remember, I back a loser every time. Objective-C, Ruby.
Wow.
You see me at the horse track.
Speaking of losers, look at the massive delta between iOS and Android. This has got to be representative of Stack Exchange because look at that.
Yeah.
Android, top of the list, 17.7%. iOS, fourth from the bottom at 9.4%.
Although I will say I have seen a lot of that, actually, just kind of talking to people going around in the market a little bit. It seems like a lot of iOS roles have been filled. So people are hiring for Android.
And this is where I was starting to go with the watch discussion, and then I bailed, the point I was trying to make at the top of the show with the watch is I don't think that's going to change the game at all for iOS. Because you got to have an iPhone 5S or newer. You got to have $350 to spend on one of these things at the minimum.
It's not that interesting, honestly.
It doesn't do enough. It doesn't do enough stuff. It does not. The health stuff. The health stuff is appealing, but I could get a Fitbit that does a lot of that for $80. And the thing is I still need my phone for this watch, and all the stuff you do on the watch you could do on the phone.
Well, and it also locks you into the platform. I mean, I honestly, even as a dev tool, I just don't see the watch as an interesting developer platform yet.
I don't see. But you see, I think Apple is hoping that watch changes the game for them a little bit. I just don't. I mean, I don't know. This most wanted though surprises me. The Android just dominating. Oh,
I think it makes sense.
We can't wrap without looking at desktop operating stats, and then we'll move on. Okay.
Windows XP.
So let's start at 2013. 2013, Windows 7 with 48%, Mac OS 18.7, and Linux at 19.9. XP was at 10. All right, and then in 2014, Windows 7 drops to 45, Mac OS climbs to 20.3, and Linux at 20.9. In 2015, Windows 7 down to 33.8, Mac OS at 21, Linux goes up to 20.5, Windows 8 at 19.5. Linux is doing surprisingly well.
Right, so it's funny. Basically, Mac's gain has almost exclusively been at Windows' loss.
Linux may be a smaller player in the consumer market, which is 1.5% of global market share according to them, but it's a go-to OS for developers according to Stack Exchange.
That makes sense.
It does. That's pretty cool. And they like Ubuntu by 12%, and then Debian at 2.2, Mint at 1.6, Fedora 1.3, other 4, Arch.
Arch, the wrong choice.
Notepad++ is number 1, Sublime Text number 2, Vim number 3. I know. All right,
I was okay with 2 of those.
Dark is the preferred theme. Light comes in at number 2, obviously. Source control, Git number 1, SVN number 2. That's just fascinating, I think. I think it's fascinating. All right. Hey, we have another great topic that the subreddit submitted. And then actually we also have one email that might blow your mind. You ready to have your mind blown, dude? It's going to do it.
Oh, no.
Oh, it is. But you know what? First, it is definitely time to talk about Linux Academy. It is definitely time to talk about our friends over at Linux Academy. Go to linuxacademy.com/coders to get the special Coda Radio discount. What is Linux Academy? My friends, Linux Academy is designed for our audience. I swear. I should have thought of it, to be honest. Really. But good thing I didn't, because I think they're going to do a better job. They have what it takes. They've got developers, they've got open source and Linux enthusiasts, system administrators, and educators that came together. I don't got that, right? And plus, they were able to build this entire platform from the ground up to meet exactly their needs, so it is unlike anything else on the market. They have step-by-step video courses, downloadable comprehensive study guides. It comes with your own server when you need to spin up something for the lab. You're going to get a public SSH access to that thing. It's really cool. Plus, you get to choose from 7+ of the Linux distributions available. Like there's more than 7. So you choose that. It updates the courseware and the virtual machine that it spins up. But today is the 13th of April, and Linux Academy has a lot of content, and that's one of the great things about the subscription base. You just get full firehose access to all of that. Here's the thing, though. Today is April 13th. On April 16th at 9 p.m. Central, they're going to do a live announcement of a huge content update for Linux Academy. Now, this is going to blow your mind because they already have enough content to keep you busy for a long time. And don't worry if you don't have a lot of free time. I don't either. And I still make Linux Academy work. One of the things that works for me is they have learning plans. So I go in there and I say, I have this much time available Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Can you build me a custom course for that availability? And they actually can do it with each little indications how long each section is going to take me. And I love it because I can go in there and say, oh, well, if I want to learn Python, it's going to take 5.5 hours. I get that. They have scenario-based labs so that way you actually get hands-on examples. So you go deploy a technology and make it work. This was incredibly useful for me when I was trying to figure out how to use the AWS stack and take advantage of some of the different things they have there, because that's really its own breed of technology. So to be able to go into Linux Academy and work in one of their labs actually on the AWS system, which, yeah, that's included as part of your Linux Academy subscription, then I'm ready to go use it in production. And it's not the first time I've ever done that. I like that a lot. The other thing that's really cool is if you have a distribution you're sort of moving from and you want to learn how to do something in the distribution, you can choose from one of their 7+ distros. They'll spin up the virtual machine in that environment for you. You go do the learning with their courseware. It's really great. Plus, CompTIA has been working with them to make sure that you can go take their courseware there and then go get the certifications. That's really awesome. They have virtual labs that I think you'd find really, really impressive. They have a fantastic, I think they have the best course on the web on OpenStack, and the best material on the web on Docker, and the best material on Vagrant as well. I mean, it is really and Amazon Web Services. Because this is what they do. They don't do like Photoshop tutorials and After Effects tutorials and kitchen sink replacements. They do this stuff, and that's all they do. And they go in depth. linuxacademy.com/coders. Go get the Koda Radio discount, support the Koda Radio program, and make yourself better too. linuxacademy.com/coders. Big thanks to Linux Academy for sponsoring the Koda Radio program. So I wanted to cover this post that was the last, like, sort of, out of all the ones that came voted in, this was like the last time one, and it's the unremarkable career of some modern software developers. Did you see this one?
I did. I read it, and it's funny. I've actually been following discussions on this. It's you can pretty much divide the response based on background.
So it starts with, I graduated from college a little bit over 10 years ago. I've been messing with computers since I was 14. This doesn't make me wise, but it certainly gives me a fair amount of experience to write some tips. He said, I should have started here. Let me start from the beginning. What's already looking like a rant, but back in the day when I was at school, all we had were hours and hours of computer science theory covering everything from wicked math classes to data and file structures to algorithms and everything in between. That was day and night, and it gave me the foundation I needed to understand how the hell I was supposed to program a computer. That was when in that time, 1 kilobyte or 1 megabyte of RAM was a luxury reserved for a few. Fast forward a few years and look around, everything is so high level. Nobody starts anywhere anymore from the same place I had to start back in the 90s. There's probably a library for that anyways. And he says that's no good. Do you agree, Mr. Dominic?
You know, I actually do agree, despite my unorthodox background. So I spent a lot of time like trying to read the algorithm books, trying to go through everything. And while I can honestly say that I never, ever consciously had to like reference an algorithm book to do anything, I can't believe, and if you see this was posted on some other subreddits. If you read some of the comments, I would categorize them as hostile. Because I definitely get like feeling insecure because you don't have the CS degree, right? Like, you know, if you sat there and asked me about algorithms, I'd look at you like, I don't care, you know, I guess the iPhone app will still get done in 4 weeks, right? Like, but the idea that you shouldn't learn it is crazy. So I would definitely, you know, do the reading, take the online courses. Hell, if your community college has the courses and you can afford it, go take them. I kind of disagree with the assertion, though, that you can't be successful without knowing it. I think you can't be successful building large enterprise backend systems. I think you can absolutely be successful building websites, small web apps, mobile apps, because let's be honest, most things don't need to scale, right?
Yeah, very true.
Most projects get 10 users. Who's your mom, your aunt, your grandma? Like things just don't need that. So do I think you're totally unemployable if you don't have it? No. Do I think that if you don't have it, you should start studying right now? If you have time, actually, yes. Even though I really, really don't think you're going to have your Knuth on your desk and be reading it for everything you have. One thing it will help you with is there's always going to be that guy who, if you're looking for a job and you have an alternative kind of background, might try to do so tell me about, insert notation here, right? So it would be helpful to answer those questions.
Yeah.
Having said that, I would challenge most people who took the traditional route to actually, on the spot be able to answer those questions. Because I have a feeling after enough years, it all becomes Stack Overflow and APIs, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, it seems a little... I definitely feel for both sides. Like, I would never be the guy to say, no, you don't need to know it. But I think there's a little bit of the, we're better, this unwashed masses kind of thing for the more, I like to say, mathematically grounded people. In my local university, Monmouth U, they do a computer science course and a software development course. And the software development is just practice, right? There's not a whole lot of theory in that.
Sure.
And if you were looking to hire a junior programmer, you're better off going with the practice guys because they could generally work from day one. Where the theory guys maybe don't know how to set up Eclipse, right? Maybe, I don't think one's better. I think it's different jobs. Certainly if you're writing the next, if you're working for YouTube or Google, you don't have the mathematical background or you don't even endeavor to learn it on your own, I think you might be screwed.
Maybe.
Right.
Maybe LiveCode comes in and saves it all. Have you heard of LiveCode?
Yes, the guy who emailed about that. I thought it was devil magic.
Cypher writes and says, hi, Michael and Chris. I'm old, lazy, and I'm an old fart with over 20 years of professional experience in everything from assembly to C++ to Java and even real basic. Software development has always been my passion, and I do it even if I didn't get paid to do so. I would continue. I recently completed my first major client project in a language called LiveCode. I have to say, that was possibly the easiest development job I have ever done, and that's considering I've worked in both the old VB6 and real basic worlds. Do you think LiveCode has what it takes to be a serious development tool in the long term? Would you ever use it for a project? Are you familiar with it, if you are? If that is. Thanks a lot. Keep up the great podcast. I've been a faithful listener since Koda Radio Episode 1, Cypher. So, I'm not familiar with LiveCode, and I'm wondering if the audience has some experience.
Yeah, this is my first hearing about it. It looks like devil magic, but if it works for you, great.
Well, he's an old fart and he approves. That's something.
Yeah, I'm kind of loving it. If it's helping you do your job, that's great. I've never used it.
So let's see. Here, I'm just gonna play a little bit of their. It looks like they have a cool video on their front page. You know what I like? I like cool videos, so I'm just gonna play it. I am a sucker for these.
You are.
Hi, I'm Kevin Miller,
Hello,
CEO
Kevin.
of LiveCode. Thanks very much for visiting our site. I'm here today to help you discover how to create your own app and what it takes to be successful with that app. Here at LiveCode, we have a vision that everyone can create apps, something that we're passionate about. We've helped tens of thousands of you to create your own apps, everything from interactive dashboards,
What's it called, mobile?
business solutions, cloud solutions, games.
I don't know. There are a ton of these tools available.
Yes.
I mean, there's Xamarin.
Yeah.
If you like to hurt yourself.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of.
Alex Vada in the chat room says it's a descendant of HyperTalk. I would really like to get the audience's experience with this thing.
I would actually be interested.
It was a crowdfunding on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
It's got 750,000 on Kickstarter. So that's, I guess.
It would be cool to actually talk to these guys. I'm like, all right, so how does this devil magic work?
Yeah.
Is this the transpiling thing, or is this like a abstracted away where you're running it in like a LiveCode runtime or something?
Right.
Yes.
Well, Mr. Dominic, the audience, we are losing quickly because
they want to go to space. Let's blast off.
As
Team
we record
Rocket.
live right now, NASA is blasting off, and our live audience is vacating the chat room to go watch. I don't know, somebody going into space, I guess. That's fine. That's fine, chat room. That's fine. You know what? Here's what we need is we need you to show up live so that way we have more people here to hold us together, to keep us on the air. Come over to jblive.tv. We do this show noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. Go to jupiterbroadcasting.com/calendar to get that in your local time. jupiterbroadcasting.com/contact. Send us your email. Give us your feedback on LiveCode. CodaRadio.reddit.com is also a great place to go and engage with the community and submit stories. CodaRadio.reddit.com is where we got all of our discussion from today. Mr. Dominic, is there anywhere you would like to send people throughout the week?
DominicM.com.
Magic. Frickin' magic. I'm going to say it again, kodaradio.reddit.com. Thanks, everybody who voted this week. It was fun. We appreciate it. We'll do that again in the future. And very soon, Mr. Dominic will be here in studio. Ooh. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in this week's episode of Koda Radio. See you right back here next week.